All right, welcome everybody. You know what? Today is actually a really exciting day. As you can probably see in the background here, I'm not in my usual office. And for the first time, I'm actually recording this as I'm just about to get onto a flight on my way back from a business trip. So last week, if you guys were watching, listening, or if you went to my blog or saw my blog post, you'll notice that I did a big segment on fire and how to really get that fire back in your belly for salespeople. And my guest today, Nick, was actually the gentleman that started that conversation for me.
Welcome to the HPLS Podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
The post went out on LinkedIn. Andy Solomon, as I'm sure all of you are aware of, reposted a little snippet, and Nick made a comment about it. And obviously, I engaged with Nick right away because the comment really stuck to me. And now we're here. So for all of you who think, hey, I can't connect with people, maybe people won't come and talk to me if I put out a podcast, I'm living proof that does not happen. So Nick, thanks for being here, my friend.
Thanks very much, Dan. It's a pleasure, mate. It's Christmas Eve here in New Zealand, and it's great to be talking to you, man. I love the subject matter and passionate about sales, so it's a great conversation to have.
It's amazing where we're at with technology. Nick, here I am sitting in an airport in Montreal, getting ready to get on a plane, and there you are in New Zealand, Christmas Eve, and we're sitting here talking to each other about high performance and sales. So, you know what? Let's dive right in, my friend. What does a high performance mentality in sales mean to you?
So high performance for me is all about strategic planning. So you're going to see over and over again from me with regards to my posts, and you're going to see me saying working hard is one thing, and it's one thing to work hard, and we can all work really hard, but working hard and smart is the key to how you become a high performance salesperson or a high performance sales leader or just a really good leader, because you're thinking about more than just working hard. So Dan, you and I both know there's a graveyard full of people that work hard all their lives, right? But at the end of the day, people that work hard and smart are thinking about not just the plan, they're thinking about the actions that they need to do to actuate that plan. So my example would be, it's Christmas Eve. How many people are already thinking New Year's resolutions? And, I want to lose that weight. I want to hit that goal. But if you don't have a plan in place, if you haven't set the plan, it's really lip service from that point of view. So I always look at high performance saying, what's your plan? How are you going to achieve it? What are the actions and where are the outcomes?
I like that you mentioned that, because that's been a pet peeve, I guess, if you will, because I sit there and I say to myself, being one of those individuals that pride myself on high performance, why am I waiting till New Year's? If I really have that weight, or if I really want to start connecting with customers in a different way, shape, or form, what is a day going to do? Meaning, establishing that's the day I'm going to start. I would much rather say start now. Now if I start now, I've got a week and a half head start on anyone that's going to start in January. You know what I mean?
100%. And then the thing you look at then is you go, why do I want to start this? Is it because I'm underperforming now, or is it because I'm already performing but I want to overperform? And that's where we get into that fire in the belly, when you get excited and you say, right, I'm going to hit 3 million as a target within the next 3 months. But if you just say it, but you don't have a plan to go, well, that means a breakdown of $1 million a month, or it's going to be 500,000 every 2 weeks. You've got to work out how you're going to do that. But a lot of people just say, I'm going to hit $1 million in 3 months. How is what I say.
Yeah, 100%. And would you agree that also when you start strategically aligning that plan, you really start putting it together, that's where a lot of that fire comes from in your belly that you're talking about?
Well, for sure. And look, you know what I've found, Dan, over all the years I've been doing this, once you put it down on paper, it becomes real. When you're talking about something, you're saying, I know I can do this, I know I can achieve this. Once you actually put it down on paper, it's visually there in front of you. And it was funny because I go back to the day that I decided I was going to start my own business called Right the First Time Consulting, Dan. And I knew so many people would be saying to me, right the first time. But we always say we'll get it right the first time, but we don't, and that's kind of acceptable. Here's an interesting thing. If you put something in order, you'll get it right the first time because you're following through a certain order. There's a process that you're working through to get that right. The fire in the belly that happens because you suddenly realize, if I do this in this order, I'll achieve this outcome. Does that make sense?
I like that. That does.
So I'm going to give you an example of that, right?
What's that? Say that again.
I'll give you an example of that. let's say, for example, I start with a red counter and I end with a blue counter. As long as I know I start with a red counter and end with a blue counter, I'm going to get it right every single time. It's when I close my eyes and mix those counters up, I've got no idea where I'm starting or finishing.
Okay, so let me put it to you then like this, Nick. We have a hypothetical. There's a salesperson watching right now that says, okay, I obviously want to become high performing because it's better for me, better for my family, better for me monetarily. Live a good life. All the above. Achieve that personal freedom that everybody really strives for. Where would they start? And you said write it down, but what does that mean?
Okay, so I guess the key thing would be is you're already selling and you're already enjoying sales. You maybe just have got a bit stale. Over time you've had a few rejections. Over time you've got to the point where you're going, another year in sales, am I going to keep doing this? That's where you've got to map out what is it you want to achieve. So like you said, are you doing it for your family? Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it to hit your quota? Are you doing it to move in the business? Are you doing it to move into upper management? Work out what it is and find your why. And I know we hear this all the time, but once you establish that why, the how and the what become a little bit easier.
Okay. So
what I look at doing, what I look at doing is I look at saying, right, okay, I want to be hitting my quota within 12 months, and I want to be achieving, say, for example, another 20 to 30% above my quota. What will I need to do differently that I'm not doing now, right? Because it's like the old adage, if I do exactly as I'm doing today and expect a different result, that's the definition of insanity. I'm not going to be able to achieve that. So what am I going to do differently? And then once you map that out on paper and you say, right, as a salesperson, I'm making X amount of calls per week. My conversion ratio is, say, around 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10. If I increase that to 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, what am I going to do differently? How am I going to map that out? So I'm going to have better calls. I'm going to have better conversations. And look, I tell you this one, Dan, I'll give us one away for free, mate. I posted one recently, and it was this tip. When you end an email, when you're sent out to a prospect or you're looking for someone to come back to you urgently, you end that email with, I look forward to your direction. And what that does is it takes the ball out of your court, puts it directly into their court, and you're now empowering them to come back to you. And when I did this, man, we had 15, 20 people in the first sort of hour come back saying, I used that, man, it works, I can't believe it. And the idea is changing what you're doing today to get a better, different result tomorrow, right? Whether it's for your family, for yourself, to hit your quota, but you can't keep doing what you're doing today and expect the same result. It just doesn't happen.
I love that, how you end that email. Because, everybody would normally say, I look forward to hearing from you, or I look forward to your direction. I really like that. That really empowers the individual that you're sending the email to.
Yeah, we went through a process of looking at I look at the cognitive behavior a lot around a lot of the work that I do around the psychology behind the sell, I call it. And if you say, I await your direction, you're actually telling the person you're happy to wait. Have you thought about that?
No, that makes a lot of sense, though.
When you say await your direction, I'm happy to await when you're going to come back to me in your time. That doesn't work for me, right? That's not part of my hitting my quota strategy. That's not the fire in the belly. So what I do is I teach people to say, I look forward to your direction, meaning I'm looking forward to you getting something to me, but it's up to you to get it to me. And man, use this, Dan. I tell you, you'll get responses. I had a guy say to me he'd be chasing a prospect for about 6 months, looking for a signed contract. So the deal was done. It just needed the contract, right? 6 months. I said, put it in the email body, put in there, I look forward to your direction, kind regards, whatever you want to sign off at the bottom, that's fine, but put in, I look forward to your direction. Within 16 hours, he had a response to an email that he'd been chasing for 6 months. It really does work.
Wow, I like that. Okay, so let's play with this a bit. Give me some more. What else do you got?
Okay. So here we go. So I look forward to your direction is one thing, but I'm looking to set up a meeting with someone. So what do I tend to do? I tend to say, well, how does Monday next week work for you? You're opening up directly for the prospect or the opportunity to be able to turn around and say, it's not a good day for me, we can't make that happen. Even like you and I, we're working through a few dates to get this done, right? But once you say, hey, I'm available Monday through to Friday, or I'm available Monday through to Wednesday, between 10 and 3, which one works for you? I'm now showing you I'm a busy man. I'm now showing you that my time's important as well, and we need to work out the time that's going to work for both of us.
Okay, and how do you find that differs from a response rate or a connection, as an establishment of a time rate?
Well, from a conversion point of view, what I see a lot of salespeople do is they will change their approach to setting the meeting to work for the prospect on a regular basis. I want to remind everyone right now, you are worth an hourly rate. And if you keep on going over your time frame, trying to catch up with the prospect, pushing it out, pushing the sales out, you're lowering your hourly rate and you're lowering your worth.
I love that. So strategically why I asked you that. So we talk about strategy when it comes to high performers is because I wanted to actually see how in line we were when it came to, I'm a sales trainer. I've been in sales for 25 years. I've sold hundreds of millions of dollars in goods and services and all, blah, 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 all the credentials, all the above. And I usually say to people, okay, so you give 2 to 3 days and you give 2 to 3 times. So we're really in line there. I never thought about the end where I look forward to your direction. I'm going to use that actually. So I'm going to glean that from you right now. And I'm telling everybody, I'm going to make sure everybody knows.
Man, it's yours.
But yeah, Bob Berg once taught me years ago. He says, Dan, you got to kind of give somebody an out. And, he says, and when I say out, I don't mean an opportunity to say, no, it's not going to happen. He goes, but, you got to kind of give them the back door. And you kind of show it to them. Here it is. I don't really want you to take it, but here it is. And in essence, that's when he said, always give them 2 or 3 days. But I do like your, Monday to Wednesday kind of 12 to 3 section is open. Which one of those sections do you want to grab a half hour, 45 minutes from? I agree with that. I think that's very, very key for all you salespeople watching, that it's essential that you give a multitude of times. Sometimes people say, give me 2 or 3 times, and I give them like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday between 9 and 11, Wednesday between 2 and 3, and I kind of switch it up and I go back and forth based on when I can, we talk about scheduling, we talk about being strategic, and that, a lot of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, a lot of that comes back to your schedule and how having your schedule work for you instead of you working for your schedule, right?
Oh, it's super important, Dan. I'm one of those people that say, is my time worth, $1 an hour? Is my time worth $10 an hour? Is my time worth $1,000 an hour? You have to work out that you're worth something. To go and see someone, you've got to chase them and appreciate that if you keep chasing them too much, you're wasting your time. And time these days is so important to us. Now, this will excite you. If you went through a process of closing down an opportunity every 3 months for a longer sales cycle, or even every month, using I look forward to your direction, you will start closing business the same day and weekly.
Okay, so you've seen that quick.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I'm going to have to, I'm going to use that in the transportation world, and I'm going to report back to you about how much faster that closes timelines. And I'll actually direct out to a lot of the guys and girls I coach to have them use it too, because I'm interested to see how in the logistics and transportation world, it's a little bit more of so here's the thing. You can close real quick, but it's usually about price. And we all know you sell price, you become a commodity, you're not a resource to anybody, right? When you're dealing with price. So the longer closes are the ones that establish that relationship. But the more techniques you have to drive that conversation quicker and quicker in between the gaps, if you will. So, I call you up and we establish that, there's possibly an ideal that we can work together on some way, shape, or form. And then it's the follow-up, right? So I often refer to a lot of, maybe this is something you can glean. I refer to a lot of the process as the baseball diamond. Right, so first base is qualifying the customer, really qualifying, do they fit within my client profile? Second base is finding out their why. Why are they really buying? What are their needs? What are their desires? What are their KPIs? What are their mandates that I can maybe help them establish and accomplish? And then third base is fulfilling that why. And you don't sell, you just fulfill the why. If it's a relationship and they need to trust you, you start the process of building that, establish that relationship of trust. And a relationship of trust comes with, I need to trust you before I give you any business. Don't try and sell me every time you talk to me. Do something for me. And then obviously home base is you get the client. If you can facilitate that why, that third base with that type of strategy on the end of an email, and take those gaps in conversation from when you speak 2 weeks later, you speak again, and reduce that down to 3-4 days, you're going to obviously shorten your sales timeline, your close line quicker. It's a great deal.
Oh, look, no question, Dan. And look, my experience, I worked for a GPS company, which is now one of the largest in the world around automation transportation. And one of the things we worked on a lot was retention of clients, maintaining our retention of clients. and I was known as a retention specialist in that business. And I'd never worked on the premise of what I couldn't sort. There was a legacy problem. I worked on what I could affect from a future point of view, right? So when I would say to people, I look forward to your direction, they were loving the fact that I was coming back to them with something. They were loving the fact that I was wanting them to be inclusive in the conversation and keep them moving through a timeline. And this is what I say to everyone in sales land. People want to be walked through a process, all right? Let's make that really clear. It is not about working and asking some questions to get a response. I use a thing called landmark questions. Here's another giveaway. Using landmark questions mean if the conversation goes off track somehow, some way, I've got 5 landmark questions that bring me back on track with the customer. We could end up in Honolulu as a destination, but I'm going to bring them back to New Zealand from a conversation point of view when it comes to using these landmark questions. What I mean by that is this. Here's one. So the prospect's talking away and we've now got off track and they're talking about cost and price and that sort of thing. I ask a question, I say, what is the impact of not making a decision to do something? What is the impact of not making a decision to do something? And straight away they come back to, yeah, you're right, actually, yeah, if we keep doing this, we're going to get the same result. See, most people know what their problem is, but they're not sure how to work through sorting out their own problem. And that's what as salespeople we should be doing, is walking through, providing a solution that means they can sort out their own problem for them. Don't lead from your business. Don't walk in and talk about your business and lay out the pamphlet and flop out the information, what I call verbally diarrhea all over them. You know, work through the process of leading from the customer. What is it that will work for them? What is it they want? And if you've done that through the process, Dan, when you ask for them to come back to you with a response on a I look forward to your direction email, they're coming back to you anyway because they like you and you're about to sort their problem.
I like that. I like that. So do everyone a favor that's on this, that's listening to this right now. Share with them some other questions that they can ask in a general sense that'll help drive that value home. So how do we ask questions that don't come from the business, but come from, you know, KPIs, from what they need to solve?
Okay. The biggest thing for me with this is research. Go online, Google the shit out of what's going on with that business so you understand the kind of questions to ask. Don't go in there and ask the guy what he had for dinner. Don't go in and ask the lady what dress she's wearing. Don't comment on his shoes. That's all old sales mentality stuff, right? We're modern day salespeople. We're going to go in as the modern majors and we're going to find out what's going on the website. We're going to find a challenge that relates to their business, and then we're going to ask questions about that, because that's the point of difference between you and every other schmuck that walked in the door and ask questions like, hey, how can I help you with your problem? Well, if you don't know, I don't know, so we can't sort it, you know what I mean? But if you go in and you say, look, I was online and I was having a look at a few ideas that you've got going on with your website here. Are you guys really looking to be the biggest business in the next 2 years, you know, by doing this, this, and this? Or are you really looking to branch out? Would that mean you're going to put on more employees leading into 2020? What is it you're going to do from a strategy point of view to change what you're doing today? Those types of questions really get people thinking.
So can I challenge you on something there, and more of a friendly challenge? So I hear what you're saying and I agree. And I know there's going to be a lot of salespeople out there saying, yeah, I know Nick, but you know what if I do 20 minutes of research and this guy tells me he's not interested? What do you say to somebody that comes back at you with that particular scenario?
Okay, let's say someone's come back to me and said, look, I'm really not interested. I know I haven't done something, Dan. You know, if I haven't asked some of the questions I've needed to, if I haven't mapped out those landmark questions and mapped those out specific to his business, then I really haven't found out what the core need is. And for me, guys, I don't work on the need. The core need is, what does this business need from me that I can provide in a timely manner that will sort their problem? That's the solution for their problem, right? So for me, if it's going to be someone that says, hey, look, I really can't see this being a fit for me, it's probably time to walk away, Dan, you know? You haven't found the situation that's going to meet their requirements. You're struggling to find the solution that's right for them, and that doesn't really happen. But let's say that is the case, it's probably time to walk away. But my advice would be, every person that has some kind of need in life is going to be looking for a solution. So all we need to do is find the right type of options that meet that solution, or find in our product suite what meets that solution, and we're going to start a pretty good conversation. Do you agree?
I agree. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on something else. I've always told a lot of my students, and a lot of times in my business, what I did is I typically found a commodity, product that I moved in transportation. And I found out some of the challenges that this company was facing. I got the details, I got the data, if you will, and then I solved the problem. And in the solution of the problem, I actually realized I can solve the problem for a lot of other companies that deal in the same commodity. So I share a lot of what I share with salespeople is also, you know, you do that, but a way to avoid that, you know, quote unquote, what you might perceive to be a complete waste of time is go after companies that are running the same commodity or similar commodities, because they typically will have the same issues or a similar type of issue. But also what you've done, and here's the kind of the compound on that, Nick, is I've said, you know, not only that, but you've got firsthand experience about how it was solved. So not necessarily that the same solution is going to apply, but you understand the core concepts of the main issues in that commodity driven, in that sector, if you will. And then at that point, you can say, okay, well, what we did for this customer was this, and this seemed to work. You know, you're kind of teetering on that fine as small as a sword's edge kind of line. But if we apply something like this, and this, and maybe create a hybrid of that, I think it might work. And I found that was really strategically helping that customer, because they're like, okay, conceptually, that makes sense to me, what you're talking about, because it's, you know, in any sector, it's the same thing. It's over and over again. It's like, you know, we as sales, it's people. It's not the commodity. It's not the service. It's people. You need to understand people. You need to understand their psychology. You need to understand, you know, what's on their agenda, what's on their plate. You know, sometimes when we make sales calls, it's not the right time. You know, I spent hours and hours and hours sending surveys out to customers and prospects. And we sent out 150 different customers and prospects we surveyed. And I actually received 147 back. Like only 3 people didn't reply. So I was obviously astounded by those numbers that came back. But the biggest thing about it was, one of the questions was, what's the best time for you to receive a cold call? Right? Because for us, salespeople, that's kind of gold, my friend. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so we went back, and 98% of the respondents said between 10 and 12 p.m. Because they've had time for the morning escalation to kind of slow down, and it's just before lunch. I was like, okay, to me, that's gold. And if I take that and I take the other little key components and strategies and everything that are going along with it, all of a sudden you've got a pretty darn good sales process on it.
And Dan, I love that, mate. And that's your experiences coming through, right? And one of the things I've found from my experience is if you sit down with someone, the very first question, if you want a landmark question, map it out, should be, how much time have I got with you? Now, I know this sounds really strange, but most salespeople aren't willing to ask how much time have I got with you, because they're scared that the client's going to turn around and say, oh, you've got 15 minutes start now, go, right? If you use that question properly, what it does is it shows how the meeting's going to flow and go. If I've only got 15 minutes, I've got to present well, but not present everything all at once. If I've got an hour, I'm going to be able to work through more information. But if I try and just do this without having an understanding of how much time I've got with the person, I'm going to fall over.
I love that. I love that question, because now you, even at that, if the prospect says 5 minutes and you kind of, you know, you got 5 minutes to make your point. If they say a minute, you better go, brother. You better go.
You got to go, brother. You got to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. You know, it's funny because one of the questions. Go ahead.
I want to give you something with that, Dan, and everyone out there in sales land, because this is really important. So you've walked in the door. You're meeting the customer prospect for the first time, right? If you ask, how much time have I got with you? I will bet my ass most of you will get half an hour as a response. Challenge me on that, Dan. I guarantee it. When you don't ask, you've got like 10 to 15 minutes. When you do ask, you've got half an hour, because most people won't give you an hour. They're not willing to give you a full lunch break, but they're willing to give you half of the time that they'll allocate to that, which I find really interesting. And it's a good cognitive behavior to learn this one. You walk in, you don't say, I've got half an hour with you. You say, how long have we got to go through this morning? I really want to cover a few things. How long have we got? And they'll go, look, how about we kick off now? We've got half an hour from now. Guarantee it.
Okay. I'm going to do that. Actually, I've got a call coming up tomorrow. It's the first question I'm going to ask. That's awesome.
And again, Dan, if you get the wrong time and they say you've got 5 minutes, what would you do? Your advice, you would say, look, hey, I can see this is not good for you for this time right now. It's going to take a little more than 5 minutes. Can we do 15 minutes? Can we do half an hour? Or should I reschedule the appointment? See what I'm doing there? Can we do 15? Can we do half an hour? I'm going to reschedule the appointments. Now, again, have your 15-minute elevator pitch. Have your half an hour mini proposal. Work out that you've got to have a strategy in place to know how to pitch it, and how to get the information across so you don't just go in there and lead from your business. I haven't even mentioned Right the First Time right now, right? But my business is called Right the First Time Consulting, rtftconsulting.com. And my process is all about working people through understanding. You won't always find some of the best sales strategies on Google, because some of the best sales strategies are sitting right here and they haven't come out yet. Same with you, Dan, right? You've got tons of IP in the head of yours. There's lots you want to share, but there's some things you've got to keep to yourself so that you can say to people, you want to learn to sell more? You're going to have to change the way you're doing things now. It might mean you don't use one of the Zig Ziglar, expert tips from sort of 40 years ago. You may be using something that's more adept to this modern age of sales we're working through right now. And it means landmark questions are probably more effective than going in with a white piece of paper and writing down what they want, because that doesn't work anymore. You've got to go in with an understanding of how you're going to sell to the person and the kind of solution you're going to provide. And look, I just want to give you a little wee case study. I worked with a business that had on their website that they wanted 0 fatalities in automation with regards to, they do power lines, big pylons in New Zealand here, and they did not want to have any more fatalities. They couldn't have another person go up and be zapped by the power line, right? And what I did was I looked at their website, did a bit of research, and I realized you want a 0 rating, right, as far as fatalities go. That's tough to get, right? This is dangerous business. They're up there with power lines and that sort of thing, 240 volts, 2000 volts coming out of the ground, and they were losing people, unfortunately, right? What I did was I said, have you heard of the PTO, the power takeoff, working with the GPS unit in your vehicle would allow you to know when the bucket was rising up towards the power line, and you would then know when the activation had happened, and you'd be able to ring the guy and say, are you a certain amount of meters away from the cable, right? This was a life-saving technique for these guys. And man, the change to them was not only are you bringing us our 0 fatality rating, which we're looking for, you're achieving an even better result than that, because the occupational safety and hazard side of things means we know when to call people to make sure they're safe. And that was an easy sell, man. Once I established that, that was an easy sell. So I'm going to challenge people and say, don't look at Google for the obvious. How long have they been trading? How long have they been doing things for? How many staff they have? What they have for lunch? Following them around the cafes they go to and that sort of thing. Look at what's hidden behind the words. See what they want to do as a company. What are they looking to achieve? What are they doing from an HR point of view? What are they doing from a service delivery point of view? How can you affect that? How can you help them make more money and get better at what they do and become more efficient at what they do? That's really understanding what you'll be able to help them with their business.
Those are fantastic points, Nick. I love your approach to it. I really do. I think you and I are going to have many, many, many more conversations. I'm sorry I have to cut this short because I'm actually about to board my plane now. But, is there any closing thoughts you want to share with everybody out there, or anything that you feel, from a fire in your belly? Here. So here, what do we got? We got, I got 4 minutes before people are going to start yelling at me. So,
all right.
How does one ignite that fire?
On this.
Yeah.
Here's my close on this. Fire in the belly. All right. To maintain fire in the belly, you have to really understand your why. You have to really understand what it is you want. I'm as passionate as sales as you can tell 20 years ago as I used to be when I first was in retail sales, right? I love selling. The reason I love selling is it's people dealing with people, and it's offering a solution to someone that needs a solution. If I had another hour with you, Dan, I'd go through and talking about how everything we do is a solution. Right? You hear about people saying they're solution specialists. They do solution material with marketing. They do solution material with digital marketing. They do solution material with SaaS and that type of thing. The shoes on my feet stop my feet from hitting the ground, right? Stop my bare feet from hitting the ground. That's a solution. So it's got a Nike tag on it. So what? But it's a solution, right? So at the end of the day, once you realize things are a solution, you're now a solution provider, and a solution provider sells product. Yeah? So here's the thing. Right the first time consulting is about getting things right the first time. I hear people say all the time, you won't get it right the first time. Erase that quote from your memory now. Lay out a plan, work out what it is you need to do to get it right the first time. And when you start making more money, when you start making more sales, when you start getting more of what you want, trust me, your belly's going to burn. The fire is going to be burning brightly in your belly, right? That's sales.
I love that, my friend. Thank you so much. That's a great way to end it. High energy. Love it. Love it.
Thanks, Dan. I really appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, Nick. Will you take care, my friend? And you know what? We are definitely going to be scheduling that hour in. Definitely.
All right. Brilliant, mate.
Take care, mate.
Thanks, man. See you, Dan.
Bye.